What if I told you that getting kicked out of your family could be the best thing that ever happened to you? Stick around because this story will completely flip your perspective on betrayal, family loyalty, and what it really means to win in life. Picture this. You're sitting in your cramped apartment staring at your phone in complete disbelief. The voicemail you just heard wasn't from a stranger or a bill collector. It was from your own father, telling you that you're no longer part of the family business. No discussion, no explanation, just you're out. That's exactly what happened to me 2 years ago. And let me tell you, it was the beginning of the most insane comeback story you'll ever hear. I used to work at my family's real estate company. Not just work there, mind you, I was practically running the place. While my older brother was out playing golf and schmoozing clients, I was the one pulling 12-hour shifts, fixing his mistakes, and keeping the whole operation from crashing down. But here's the thing about family businesses: blood doesn't always mean loyalty, and being right doesn't always mean being protected. It all started when my father wanted to expand into some questionable development deals. I'm talking about projects that made my skin crawl, the kind where corners get cut and people get hurt. When I voiced my concerns, when I dared to question the Golden Boy's judgment, suddenly I became the problem child. The funny thing is, I thought we were a team. I thought family meant having each other's backs. Boy, was I wrong. So there I was, officially unemployed and emotionally devastated. My brother got my promotion. My mother sent me a text saying it was for the best. And me? I got a one-way ticket to rock bottom. But you know what they say about rock bottom? It's a solid foundation to build on. While they were celebrating their decision to cut me loose, I was quietly planning something they never saw coming. See, when you spend years cleaning up other people's messes, you tend to keep records. Detailed records. The kind that tell a very different story than what's presented in those fancy boardroom meetings. I had copies of everything: every shady deal, every financial shortcut, every lie told to investors. Not because I planned to use them, but because I learned early that trust is a luxury you can't afford in business, even family business. Instead of wallowing in self pity, I did something crazy. I started building my own empire. For 14 months, I worked like someone possessed. During the day, I coded and developed software solutions for real estate management. At night, I built relationships with investors who actually appreciated my expertise. I was invisible to my old life, forgotten by my family, but I was creating something beautiful. And then, just when I was hitting my stride, guess who came crawling back? My brother called me, and I could hear the panic in his voice. Apparently, the family business was in trouble. Big trouble. The IRS was knocking on their door, asking uncomfortable questions about financial irregularities going back 7 years. 7 years. That's exactly how long I'd been covering their tracks. They needed me to come to a family meeting. They needed my help. The same people who threw me away like yesterday's newspaper were now begging me to save them. I almost laughed. Almost. Walking into that meeting felt like entering a parallel universe. The same conference room where I used to take notes and pour coffee, now I was walking in as their potential savior. Everyone looked uncomfortable, like they'd seen a ghost. My father, the man who'd coldly dismissed me over voicemail, couldn't even look me in the eye. My brother, who'd stolen my position, was practically sweating through his expensive suit. They explained their situation. Someone had reported financial inconsistencies, and now they were facing a full audit. They needed someone who understood their system, someone who could navigate the mess they'd created. That someone was me. But here's where it gets interesting. I agreed to help, but with conditions. I wanted full access to everything. No locked files, no restricted areas, complete transparency. They hesitated, but desperation makes people agree to things they'd normally never consider. The moment I got access to their books, everything became crystal clear. There were millions of dollars missing, funneled through offshore accounts and shell companies. And guess whose name was attached to most of these transactions? My dear brother, the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. He'd been stealing from the family business for years, even from our father. And when I started getting too close to uncovering his schemes, he made sure I was painted as the troublemaker and pushed out. The betrayal wasn't just about a business disagreement. It was about covering up theft, fraud, and years of deception. But instead of immediately exposing him, I did something smarter. I downloaded everything and quietly transferred the evidence to my private files. Because while they were busy destroying their own empire, I was building mine. Here's the part that still gives me chills. My startup wasn't just surviving during this time, it was thriving. I was pulling in six figures monthly, signing major commercial contracts, and building relationships with the same luxury developers who'd rejected my family's proposals. I was becoming a legitimate competitor in their industry, and they had no idea. The revelation came when my brother called me again, this time at 11 at night, absolutely panicking. The audit team had discovered that a company called Carter Holdings had submitted buyout offers for two of their key properties. That company was mine. I'd made those offers at half market price because I knew they were desperate. I knew they'd have to sell, and I was positioning myself to benefit from their downfall. When he realized what was happening, when he understood that I wasn't just helping them, but actively competing against them, he lost it completely. He accused me of destroying the family, of betraying everything we stood for. That's when I finally spoke my truth. I told him that the family was destroyed the day he lied about me, the day they pushed me out without a second thought. All I did was understand the game they'd taught me to play. The next morning, I walked back into that office building. But this time, I wasn't walking in as the forgotten daughter. I was walking in as the new owner. I wore a navy blue suit, kept my hair simple, no unnecessary makeup. This wasn't about looking good. This was about looking powerful. The receptionist barely recognized me. The board members sat in stunned silence as I handed them the acquisition papers. They had 48 hours to vacate the properties I was purchasing. The remaining assets would be transferred to my holding company. My father's face went white. My brother looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. My mother couldn't even meet my eyes. When my brother accused me of bluffing, I simply slid the signed investor agreements across the table. Legal documents that proved I had the backing, the authority, and the power to do exactly what I was threatening. He stood up, fists clenched, telling me I'd regret this decision. As I walked toward the door, I turned back one last time and told him that I'd already spent enough nights regretting things. But crying myself to sleep thinking I'd lost everything taught me something valuable. They hadn't taken anything from me. They'd freed me. 3 weeks later, the story hit major business publications. Headlines read about the disowned daughter who became CEO, about how I'd taken over the family empire from the outside. The story went viral. Investors reached out. Former employees wanted to join my company. Reporters camped outside my office. But the most satisfying moment came when I received a text from my mother. She said my father wasn't doing well, that everything was falling apart, and they never expected things to end this way. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because for the first time I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no need for revenge. Just peace. A week later, I hosted a launch event for my new nonprofit, an organization dedicated to helping young women in business who've been pushed out, silenced, or underestimated. Standing at that podium, looking out at a room full of investors, mentors, and genuine supporters, I said something that summarized my entire journey. I was once told I didn't belong at the table, so I built a bigger one. Later that night, my brother showed up at the event exit. He looked different, thinner, quieter, broken in a way I'd never seen before. He told me he didn't know I had this kind of strength in me. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "That's because you never bothered to look past yourself." He admitted that I'd won, but I corrected him. I didn't win. I survived, and he just watched it happen. As I walked away that night, the city lights reflecting off the windows around me, I realized something profound. That voicemail that destroyed my world had actually saved it. Being counted out, being discarded, being underestimated turned out to be the greatest gift they could have given me because the moment I said understood to that cruel dismissal was the moment I started writing my own legacy. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so successful that your success speaks louder than their failures ever could. If this story resonated, with you. If you've ever been counted out by people who should have believed in you, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe because I've got more stories about turning setbacks into comebacks. Remember, being underestimated isn't a weakness, it's a superpower waiting to be unleashed.